Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. If you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's a new year. It's a new us. Star Citizen Live is where we take about an hour, give or take, out of the end of our week, and hang out with some of the members of our various development teams to discuss what it is they do, how they do it, why they do it. Um, some are more helpful than others. Sometimes we have Jeremiah on the show. It's
Yeah,
okay. It's
it's
okay when that
great.
happens. Joining us on the show this week are members of our character art teams. Let's introduce them now. We have got. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Hold on. We broke down everything on the
Oh no.
dirt
We
dirt
have
dirt.
problems already? Oh boy.
Yep. There it is. See, we have everybody. This is in my living room, and I broke it down over the holidays. I took the break to not have a giant computer and workstation in the middle of my living room. So when I hooked it back up, apparently I swapped the monitors. Uh, Streaming 101. Chance, because I like you more. Why don't you tell people
Wow.
who you are and what you do for Star Citizen?
Yeah, I'm Chance Rowe. I'm the character art director. Um, Happy to be on.
He's the character art director.
The
The
character
art.
art director.
There is only one.
The.
There's only one.
And Jeremiah, do your thing.
Do what?
Do whatever you're gonna do.
Hello. I'm Jay Lee. I am the lead concept artist of Cloud Imperium Games, the LA studio, and Jared and I are dating.
We're not. You're not supposed to confirm things like that. You're just supposed to like hint and tease at them because then they go to Reddit. All right. This week's show. Obviously, we've been off for a while. It's going to take us a little bit to get into the swing of things. What we're doing this week's show is we are talking about all things character art team related. As usual, we put a thread up on Spectrum and let people submit their questions and vote up which ones they want to see answered most. Because we are talking to the character art team and not what is often referred to as the actor feature team, our questions today are going to be focused more on the artistic aspects, the way things look, the way things feel, how they work. So questions about when will this armor be able to do this, or when will this, that's stuff for the actor feature team. So we save those and we throw them into the pot when we have those guys on. So if you're watching live on Twitch right now, you can submit your questions in the chat by prefacing your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. That's going to help members of our community management team pull it out from the various chat that's going on, and they'll send them on to me, and we'll work those into the show along the way. But as we usually do, let's start things off with questions from the chat with our number one most voted up question: will there be beards? Who wants to hit it?
I'll start. Eventually. Yeah. So right now, we're working on updating a lot of what you see in the character customizer in the PU in Star Citizen. We have really nice looking new hair that was first done for our squadron characters, and we're in the process of really just getting enough hairstyles out there where there'll be meaningful choice. That's job one. We need to get that stuff in. But will we want beards, facial hair choices? Absolutely. That will be something that we'd love to have. We don't really have a timeline as to when, but it's something we'll be working on. What we've discussed, and again discussed, is there'll probably be varieties to pick, not necessarily facial hair that grows and all this stuff, but like a beard, a mustache, other things that you'll be able to choose through and pick and customize your character. It's just for us, we need to get to the hair first. So that's going to be our first step, and then eventually. So
I mean, like, I think we showed off Mark Hamill, Old Man's character, I think 2 years ago. And so there are characters with facial hair in Squadron 42, and they look so good. And so, but like Chan said, like, we need to get the hair done. And the beards actually use the same very similar setup to the hair, and so they'll look really sweet. It's just we need better looking hair. The PU is very outdated with the hairs. And I know the players have been wearing our old hair for how many years now. And so once we get that looking sweet, looking up to the standard that that Chance, Chris, and CIG pretty much were like, that's the standard of where the hair is supposed to be. Beard's facial hair will come in probably
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, like for us, what we didn't want to do is just add in one or two really nice looking hairs and leave everything else
Right.
untouched. That doesn't really make a very cohesive look for anything.
Right.
And we also didn't want to just give you a couple hairstyles and then tear everything else out, because then there's no choice, right? You have three things to pick from or something. That's not great either. So for us, it's we need to make enough varieties of hairstyles where you've got some choices to both male and female hairstyles, and there should be something there to pick. So that's kind of for us is finding out when we have enough hair, when it's going to be the right time to do the full update for the character customizer.
Oh, Chaz, I just thought of an idea. I think Jared might kill me. What if like we updated when we update all the hairs, right? And like maybe like 3 years down the line, we do like a retro pack where it's just you bring, it's like you could have all the like the really bad looking ones, but like, you know what? If you kill this Vandal out in somewhere, you can get the retro pack.
I thought you were going to suggest that one of the default heads should just be Jared, because
I mean, there is that option. Jared is retro.
he is kind of retro, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, he is the definition of retro. I love you, Jared.
All right, so the question was about beards, and it went to hair primarily because hair is the priority before beards. You know, but the very next question, the second most voted on question in the thread was, how is the hair tech coming? So we've talked a little bit about the priorities there, but let's talk about the progress that we've actually made over the last months, years, stuff like that. The stuff James Koo is doing, all that stuff. Give us the rundown. Where are we at with hair right now, internally?
Sure. So the first step was really finalizing our proprietary hair tools, so that the creation of these things is seamless start to finish for the artists here, as well as getting the hair shader to be able to do all sorts of different hair colors and look good. And it took some time. The good news is we got all that done. And after we got it all done, one of our artists, our principal character artist in LA, James Koo, went and recorded tutorials of how to use the tool, how to make hair from start to finish, which has been super helpful to roll that out to other artists as well as some of our external vendors. So now everyone is up to speed on that. And the good news about that is it means our bandwidth to create hairs went up dramatically. And so that'll only help us get more of these complete for Squadron, but also, again, more of those complete for what goes into the PU. So the short answer, we're in a very good spot with our hair tech.
I think it's one of the aspects that kind of gets undersold a little bit, is that it's one thing to make a new tool, which is awesome. And we showcase the tools that our developers make to help other developers all the time. We just did with the terrain modification tool on ISC yesterday. But there's another step that happens after that. We have to train people. When you develop a brand new tool to do this, that takes a fair amount of time itself. But then you can't just hand the tool to a bunch of people in the studio in different studios, but like, use it. It works. It's like they have to learn it, and they have to bring their own individual skill with that tool, up. I imagine the first couple, as wonderful as the tool is, the first couple of things that somebody who's never used it makes won't quite be at the quality that we're looking for. So even talented artists need time to work with it and develop their own skill set with it and get better, and so that everybody we have more than one or two people that can make things at the quality level that we're looking for.
Jared, can I talk about actually our hair? Oh my God, what am I saying? The hair tool, actually, a little bit, just like the pull. Okay, so 2 years ago when we showed it was 2 years ago, right? When we showed the Squadron trailer, was it?
It depends on which one you're talking about.
The most recent one, where we show Henry Cavill, the one where we show Henry Cavill at the very end. It's like
I,
2 years ago, right?
I don't know. Time is a loop at this point.
I
Just
don't
move
know.
on.
I don't know. But like when we did that trailer, we were doing that was like pretty much the beginning of when we were starting the next gen hair, and we used X Gen to try to get that realistic hair feel, and it looked real. The problem was that hair poly count was like, I think like 2 mil, 6 mil at one point. Some characters, and it was just it worked for a time, but we're like, okay, we need to fill the screen with like 100, 200 characters. And so we're like, how can we get this to look as close to actual realistic hair, but then still be playable in the game? Because we don't want how some games they might have like the main character and that character has hair and everyone else is bald. Like we can't have that, right? So we tried to come up with a bunch of techniques, and that went through a lot of different artists. We also had a lot of people who were trained from other companies as well. Uh, Trained in like James Koo comes from he did a lot of like VFX stuff for TV shows, and also for film as well. So he brought his knowledge as well. And so we were kind of trying to make this hair tool that works for Star Citizen, where we get that realistic looking hair, but then still efficient and cheap enough for us to run the game at a normal FPS. And so that process took a while, and then we made the gold standard hair for our character Kelly, which you guys have seen before, and that was our first gold standard hair. Then the second one for the male was pretty much Captain White, and then the next point was, okay, can we change the colors of the hair? And we tried changing the colors. We got to the blonde. The blonde looked super fake. So we were like going back to the shader, going back to the tools guys, and we were just doing this back and forth. We flew out Nico and Rob Dickerson out here multiple times, and they were just it was the character artist and the two of them. They were in like this room in the corner of the old studio, in the studio, and they were just cramming like every single day, just kind of like I remember like Nico had his head in his hands. He's like, I don't know how to do it. So like, but we finally got it there through a lot of hard work and dedication. And the hair, I wish we could show you, but I don't want to spoil anything. I want, like, when it's in your hands, I want the players to be like, oh my god, the hair looks great, and the hair looks absolutely phenomenal. And when Chance and I, when we look at the hair in the PU, we just kind of like we shudder now when we look at it. But once we get once we get a list of hairs, especially for Squadron 42, this has got to look really good. We can easily port that over to the PU. And that is the plan. And also, I know there's some real. I know that some of the Spectrum questions were like dreads, cornrows, curly hair. Those are the type of stuff that we would like to do down the line. But we have the tools and the training. Because I think when we first finished the hair pipeline, like what, 3 artists knew how to do it, and then the other 15 were like, what about us? And so like we spent a good 6 to 7 months training a majority of the character team, and we've gotten some new hires recently as well, and we give them some time, ramp up time, to teach them that. So like the setup was long, but it's super worth it, and I'm super excited. I can't wait for the players to get it.
Yeah, it's been said before, but because Squadron 42 is the priority of so much, especially on the character team, and because Squadron 42 is in the heart of the military, a lot of the hairstyles are very conservative looking. So it unfortunately it creates an unfortunate but necessary bottleneck for this. We got to focus on that stuff first. But I don't think there's anybody on the character team, if I'm allowed to speak for your team, just from what I've spoken to, who isn't super chomping at the bit to get as many varied and interesting hairstyles into the game as possible. All right, that's a lot of time on hair. Clothes. When will clothes for female characters catch up to their male counterparts? At the moment, there are many, many clothes available in the shops that only work for male characters. What can you tell us?
So I mean, our current process is every time we make a piece of clothing, we do both male and female at the same time. What we do have, as you've seen, is we have a discrepancy of a backlog of older assets, that's not the case. We are currently working on that backlog and getting all those the female versions in. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of pieces. We're working on it. But yes, that's absolutely something that we're aware of, and we are getting updated. But going forward for any of our new stuff, we're doing both, and that's kind of one of the great things about like all these locations coming up and all these new, all this stuff coming that's brand new. We have to obviously make NPCs for that, all that new stuff. Because of that, it means that we got to move that stuff up. It'd be a shame to release new landing zones and not have, proper NPCs in those zones. So that's why we have to tackle that stuff, now. But we have that backlog, and we were going to address that, over time. It's hard to put a date on something when you've got such a big amount of stuff to work on, but we are working on it. So
yeah, you guys have made a lot of improvements. The pipeline that we have today makes these things in parity. Everything that has a male version gets a female version. Everything. It's been an important change that we made to the pipeline going on the last couple of years. Now we've had it in place, but there is that backlog of just older legacy items. They're still in the stores and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Tech debt is real.
Yeah.
Tech debt
I
is
mean,
real.
like because the thing is like a lot of the fans that have been following the project for quite a long time know that the female rig and the male rig are completely different, and we don't scale rigs because there are other games when there's an item like let's see, I can like use my phone, right? They'll just reach their hand out and it'll snap to their hand. For our game, our characters actually reach out and grab the item. So scaling the rig would scale the mocap data. So the female though has a different height than the male, and the entire company on the art side had to do a lot of smart work to make sure that the female characters could actually reach out and do the same things that the male counterparts could. And the thing is, while animation, oh my goodness, animation, they had to go through thousands of animations. While they were doing that, we couldn't stop the character team from producing assets. And so we were like, we still need to make clothes for the players in the PU. And so we made a lot of clothes. I think we brought all the armors, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong though, so that both male and female can have both the same armor. But for clothes, I remember we made I'll almost use my swear budget, a crap ton of clothing. And then when the female player got in, we were like, oh my goodness, we have hundreds of assets to make, but then we still have new requests for new landing zones for Squadron 42. And so it's just kind of like, it was just bad timing at the time. But we'll get to it.
I do want to follow up there. One of the folks in chat said that some of the new Microtech clothes don't have female versions.
Which one?
I don't know. It's just, but there's somebody in chat saying that some of the new Microtech clothes are missing female versions, and I know just from standing over shoulders that they were made. So maybe it's maybe it's an attribution error, or they're just missing from vendors.
Well, I know we did talk about. We do have female specific clothing and also male specific clothing. If it's one of those,
okay.
I mean, because I remember I answered this question before. Will they have like just like clothes that just the female characters could wear and just the male characters could wear? Then I said that there has to be a 1-to-1, and that's kind of like been our motto for the character team. I don't know which clothing it is exactly, but I can talk with QA. And talk with team internally, see which one it is.
Let's just take a look.
There's a problem.
It's very possible there are some things missing from vendors or whatever that just need to be attributed. We'll take a look. Let's see. Are there any plans for future armors or clothing with modules for additional functionality? An example being a small personal scanner on the shoulder or something while exploring.
Chance, you want this one or?
I'll start. You can.
I can go on a tirade about this.
So this is really probably best as a design question. So but what I can speak to is something that we are very actively working on right now with design, and that is new armors that do have specific roles. So there's archetypes that we're working on, like specialist. We have combat already quite a bit. We're working on ideas for support as well as utility, and that is something that we're looking at what design wants to do. We're getting in there with lore, making sure the manufacturer's correct, the look and feel of it's correct, and all this. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to be defined in there that we definitely want to have these specific armors that have these specific purposes. But it's really a matter of like prioritizing which ones give us the best the best things first and stuff. And that's it's being worked on. As far as to the modularity thing, that one is still unclear. And again, more of a design thing, for us. If that's something design says that they want, we will have that conversation. So.
Yeah. You mentioned that's a design question. That's one of those things we talked about earlier that's really for the actor feature team. But we did want to reiterate that we are still pursuing the archetypes that Rich Tyrer discussed back at CitizenCon 2948. If you haven't watched that panel, or 2949, if you haven't watched that panel, check that out. It has a lot of information about where we're going as far as the different armor archetypes and being designed for different purposes and roles and stuff like that, and it's absolutely still the design, absolutely still the intention and stuff like that. So a lot of good information
we
there.
fleshed that out even further. Actually, we had a talk. Chance and I had a talk further about the archetypes. I think like this week. So it's being more refined. And I think just kind of like a TLDR version of answer this question would be, and I've said this for years, there will never be a armor that is considered endgame, where it is the best armor, can do everything, right? That's the same way for ships, same way for guns, same way for armor. There will be armor and modules that would be the best for what it needs to do for that specific gameplay. So you will not get a armor that's best at sneaking and best at protection, best at hiding sound, best at catching people, best at like there will be like the best armor for combat, but then there'll also be the best armor for heat resistance, the best armor for tracking players, best armor for sneaking and doing infiltration. So like we'll do specialized stuff, and within those archetypes, there might be different types of armor with specific types of gear that design have, and we'll continue to flesh out and be like, if you want to do this specific mission that's sneaking, there's a bunch of stuff that different types of armor you could put on. How granular we're going to get into customizing that is 100% on the design side. Well, I just make pretty pictures. But the overall concept is
best armor for
always
fashion.
Best armor for fashion, which is just unequipped everything. But like there will always be the intent, at least the gameplay is there is always the best armor for a specific thing or specific gameplay, but not the best armor at everything. So I guess the granularity you can ping Richard Tyrer. Don't shoot me.
I'm gonna get email. I'm gonna come online Monday morning with plenty of emails from Rich Tyrer.
Oh boy.
All right, here is a commonly recurring question. We've addressed it a couple times over the years, but there's always new people and stuff. Why are there no children? Old people, fat people, thin people, tall people, short people, and so on. The verse just seems very uniform at the moment.
Yeah, as far as children, that is a choice. We don't want children in a game where people are running around with guns and knives and there's violence and things. That's not what we're creating. So don't expect that. As far as different body types, that is something that we would like to have. I think that absolutely that's cool. The limitation that we have, as Jeremiah kind of brought up, is we have one rig for males and we have one rig for females. And what that limits us to is the sizes, right? So, it allows our game to have all those things look very seamless, where the people pick up things and interact with things correctly. And that is a limitation of it, is that you also get a set height right now. So, And so yes, the body types, that would be cool. I mean, we would love to work into that. The children, nope. And as far as the size of people, it's a limitation of the size of the rigs.
Yeah, I want to add that the rigs. The reason we went with the the unified rig is there are so many benefits that it gets us. It's what allows the characters to push all the buttons in the spaceships. Coming up with the new physicalized dashboard. It's what allows people to pick pick everything up off the bar stools and stuff like that. It gains us a whole lot of things. It does come with a trade-off, just like most things in game development do. It's like statting a character in a D&D game. You can't put 20s down the line. If you're gonna put all your points in dexterity, you're gonna have to take them out from somewhere. So one of the things that we lose is variable height on the character. So I think it's a known thing. It's a thing that we chose to do, and I think the benefits far outweigh the detriments.
I mean, isn't it cool just the fact that, like, when a character like aims down sights, they're actually looking through the scope, right?
Yeah.
And the bullet is actually coming out of the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
And when you point to something, it's the same thing. And from your perspective, you'll be pointing at the same exact thing that the other players will be seeing. So there's so much. And the biggest thing with Star Citizen is immersion, right? And we want to make sure that things is just next level. The unfortunate part, like you said, is just kind of like customizability. Like this, it's always a thing. Like the more bespoke you make it, it'll be harder for it to be for customization. And then if the more customization that you bring, the less unique and more bespoke things. It's a balance. It's a balance.
Yeah, it's weird. In order to gain the increased customization, you actually have to make some things more generic.
Yes,
it's weird.
That has been the biggest challenge for the concept team and the character team when it comes to clothing and armor, which is why we have zones. And we've have some countermeasures to that, and some that I will not disclose here. But like there are, because the artist side, because everybody in the company, we love art and we love bespoke stuff because it's cool, right?
We just love saying the word bespoke.
I love bespoke.
There's like fidelity,
it's just so good.
And then there's immersion, and then somewhere
bespoke.
around there, right under that is bespoke.
But like, I mean, I'm an artist myself. I love doing just crazy things that are unique to it, and it just for that one thing. And a lot of artists feel the same way. But customization is part of the gameplay of Star Citizen. And so design and character team, we've kind of come to an agreement of some things that I will not disclose.
Yeah. All right. Any updates on the Space Cow?
We're working on.
Okay.
I got the Space Cow right over here.
I can say we are working on some stuff with creatures. It's actually some different creatures. I can say that. I think we're working on some other stuff right now that is exciting in the creature space. It's not currently the Space Cow. It's some other stuff. I don't know if I can get it up. I'll leave it at that.
It's a space something.
They're all space somethings.
Yeah, because we're all in space.
Speaking of space somethings, how are the Tavaran and Xion character concepts coming along? Have they changed much since the last time they were shared?
The Xion is coming along quite nicely. It's past the concept stage and into modeling right now and looking really cool. So they're doing a lot of stuff on that. There's some work being done on the facial rig and how that all animates and everything and how that looks good. It's the challenge, of course, with non-human characters. Once you get the facial animation, like it's not quite as straightforward as a human. So we're working on that right now and making sure that they have a really unique look and feel. Shouldn't just be a human in a costume, right? I mean, these should look, have a unique way they animate, the way they look and everything. So there's some exciting stuff happening. To one of the things that to Jeremiah mentioned is like with Xion, for example, that does it. There are some things that do come up when you have characters who aren't the same size, and so that's actually something that
That's
is we're actively discussing. Like, what do we do? How do we deal with this? Because it's one thing, for them to be featured in Squadron in a, here they are and they do this thing and that thing. It opens up a whole bunch of conversations about, okay, well, what happens when they're in the PU? Like, can they fly every ship? How do we account for this if they're not the same size? And obviously they have what clothing can they wear? I mean, it's just, yes, it is a big can of worms right there. So,
and that is not a confirmation that they're showing up in Squadron 42. He was giving you an example of a scenario, guys.
A scenario, yes,
Just
correct.
head it off before it goes to Reddit.
The Tevrin on the concept side.
I'm sorry. How are you saying that?
Tavarin.
Isn't it Tavarin?
Sorry.
Did you say Tevrin?
Tevrin, Tavarin,
Just
Tavarin.
wanted to give you crap.
All right. All right. The Tavarin. We've I think the last time we've worked on it was quite a while back, around the Prowler. When we released the Prowler, we did some concept support on that. It has taken a little bit of a backseat on the concept side, a bit. We wanted to flesh it out even further. We have a generalized look, but we were like, okay, I think this needs its own specific time. And the Xion was a little bit higher on the priority list, so we kind of like focused more on that. So the Tavarin, the Tavarin, is it? I don't even know anymore. The Tavarin race is a little bit behind, but the Xion is definitely moving a lot more. It's a lot more further along than the Varin. Hi, Dave.
Let's see. Look at the chat here. Wear and tear. Any updates? Anything you tell us on the status of wear and tear on armors or normal clothes or anything that the character wears?
You want me to get the wrong? Yeah, I can get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Chance is so polite. Chance is so it's like you want.
Well, we have to balance. Jeremiah and I have to balance, right?
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
like if he's
He's
constantly trolling you and giving you shit and everything. Like I have to be good
swear
cop,
jar.
right?
Oh, you used your swear budget for the day, Chance.
Oh, did he? I missed it.
He just said it.
Wear and tear. Yes, that is the plan. That's definitely something that we would like. We have been working on some stuff as far as the shader goes, as far as the wear and dirt, dynamic wear and dirt, and we made some actually recent progress on some of that stuff where we had a wear and dirt that had been kind of in a state of broken for a bit. We've been making some progress on getting that functionality back, where you'll be able to, the artist can dial in like, this is the default level of wear and dirt on this particular asset, and then over time, it goes farther. So yeah, we've been digging into that right now, actually.
Cool. Back in 3.8.1, there was a bug that allowed folks to wear armor on top of regular clothes, with no undersuit. It usually looked seriously cool. There were a couple that looked all right. There were a couple that. Are there any plans to be able to officially wear armor without an undersuit?
Can I answer this, Chance? Can I answer
Yeah,
this
you
one?
take that one.
Okay. All right. Let me roll up my sleeves on this one. So the system that we have in place right now is clothing has its own system with its own setup, and the armor has its own system with its own setup. There's a lot of reasonings for this. The armor in particular is for the going outside into EVA, the EVA capability of the undersuit, and also breathing and oxygen, power, all the fun stuff that Rich's team brought in last year. Right now, clothing does not have that, and so we cannot put the two together. However, I have talked about this with Rich and JJ on the active feature team, which is combat clothing. So it is like armor and protection that you would wear, not necessarily out in space, But if you were, I don't know, there could be a player that wants to wear armor on the ground and will always stay on the ground, right? So there are talks about that, and so we could potentially, if we go in that direction, have armor that has some clothing capabilities. You could maybe
Shirts with a
wear,
Kevlar mesh.
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. But I'm actually talking about like actual like armor. Like maybe there's just some armors that doesn't require an EVA suit, and you just have armor on top, like you could look like a SWAT person that doesn't have to go to space, right? So those are conversations that we're having with design. Like I had conversation with, I brought up to Rich like I think last week, and so I think for if we if we do head in that direction, that would open up a plethora of different things that the players could do on the ground side, not in space, where you could put on a trench coat and then, or put on a, I don't know, a poncho, and then have as a jacket item, and then have the clothing armor underneath it. So we would like to, and we're in talks. And
Give me an armored poncho, man. Give me an armored poncho.
Yeah. But armor right now, mixing armor and clothing would break a lot of systems, just because there's a lot of data forward setup. There's a lot of things that Sean's team has very meticulously put in place for the two separate designs and the two separate setups on the tech side, and so they will never cross, from what I know. If they come up with some crazy ingenious thing, maybe. But as it is, and with the information that I have, those won't cross. But then to counter it, combat clothing. That is something that we're talking about. Yeah.
All right.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about some body modifications. Aside from cybernetic prosthetics, what are the plans for things like tattoos, scarring, implants, and the like?
I can say it's being discussed. We don't have any like locked in final plans of like this is how we'd want to feature it. We're talking about that. We were also discussing the ideas for cybernetics. How would that happen? Like what, like it, and it we're all excited about it. It's all definitely cool. Just the question is, how do we implement it? Where is it? Like, is it something you just get right out of the character? Would we want it right out of the character creator, or does that make it not as special? Is it something? No, actually, you got to go do this and this and this in the game to be able to access it. Like, is that cooler? Like, those are the types of conversations we're having. So, no finalized plans. We do think it's cool. It's just a matter of where would it feel best. I think that's really the thing that we're looking to solve. So
yeah, on the art side, I think I can kind of bring this up. We did do some slight R&D on tattoos in general, because you guys have seen in the Squadron trailer, there is Vat Tagaka, and he's got this massive tattoo on both of his arms. That is actually on the diffuse map, so that on the albedo map. So that is actually painted on the actual texture of his skin, right? The reason why we did that was, I remember this so clearly because I hand drew every single tattoo of Tatagaka, and that was fun. But I remember we tried to make it a decal, where kind of like how we have decals on armor, where you have like the numbers or the little things, and also on ships. The problem was that it didn't look like skin. It looked like we tried to get it as close as we could. It just didn't feel real. And tattoos, when I concepted it, I did in Photoshop first, and it just didn't feel right. So I actually, tattoos on skin almost has like a little bit of a graphite feel, because, well, especially with like the gradation and stuff. So I actually hand drew it on a pencil, did a couple of those, scanned them in, and then touched them on Photoshop. And then I realized I had a pencil brush in Photoshop and just did it in Photoshop anyway. We tried putting it as a decal, and it just didn't feel like it was actually on the skin itself. It felt like almost plastic. It felt very fake. And so that just didn't hit the quality bar. If we made it a decal, sure, like I'm sure we can come up with techniques, but it just doesn't seem real, and it would be super triggering for me and a lot of people. And so yeah, we all love tattoos, we all love scarring, and whenever Death of the Spaceman actually is in full implementation, we have to do scarring and implants and like body modifications. But until then, yeah, we'll see what we'll see what the priorities are and when things come in place. But we have to do the body modifications and scarring. I mean,
it's part of Death of a Spaceman. And stuff
yeah,
like
Death
that,
of the Spaceman, we have to do it.
So, as those systems begin to come online, those teams make those requests of your team's official and stuff like that. So it's there's an order to operations there. Let's see what else do we got from the chat. Will you add medical uniforms when medical gameplay comes around later this year or comes around this year? What about mining and cargo hauling uniforms? Basically, just various profession uniforms, I'm guessing.
We are working on them. No, there are things in concept right now that we are working on. We were just looking at some of that stuff very like this week. So yeah, we are making sure those things are getting done, and just making sure that like we have the correct ones for the different landing zones and all that's appropriate. We fill in all those things. But yeah, that's we are working on it right now.
Yeah, when the hospitals come online, you don't want a bunch of people in giant overlord armor, sitting there ready to take your temperature. It's like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, kind of relayed back to the earlier question of like, how come that backlog we can't get to that because new stuff is coming? And yeah, it would be really silly if we came out with a hospital and we didn't have the appropriate clothes for people to be wearing, right? So that's why that stuff has to come first. So
I don't know what you mean. I think it'd be a great idea if you just passed out and you woke up and some guy in heavy armor is like, "I'm here to take your temperature." Like, I think that's amazing. Sorry.
You can't help yourself, can you?
I can't. It's just so easy.
We've got a couple backpack-related questions. Let's see if I can just combine a couple here. Can we see more colored rucksack cores in the near future, or a backpack that can be a separate module that maybe attaches to different armors?
Is that somebody in our meeting this morning?
Yep. Someone was in our meeting this morning.
No, we were actually going over backpack concepts in a meeting this morning and discussing just those very things about plans for that. When they would come out, what the later functionality would be, how they would relate, how do we make sure that the backpacks we're creating look good on all of our existing armors, which ones we need to make. But yeah, that is very, very current, like this morning. So
literally a couple hours ago.
What else we got? See a couple people bringing up the holographic subscriber helmet with the skull that we showed back in 2019. I'll go ahead and take that one if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, plead the fifth on this one.
Some of you know, some of you don't know. For the last half of 2019 and for all of 2020, one of my moonlight side jobs was running the subscriber program, and that was one of the things that Jeremiah and I pushed for to get into the program and stuff like that. We absolutely still want it. It's just that it requires a new graphics shader because using the hologram tech that we have right now works great for ships. Like you saw it at IAE and stuff like that, and it looks great for that stuff. But what the visceral experience we want in the helmets, wasn't quite there. So we need some additional work from the graphics team. And unfortunately, if you read our monthly reports, the graphics team has their work cut out for them. They have all kinds of stuff they're working on, the new Gen 12 renderer and stuff like that. And it's more important that they prioritize stuff that can affect all Star Citizens than just the stuff for the subscriber program. So as much as we want it bad. It's just there are other things that need to happen first. So it's still on the list. On the list.
And a big shout out to the graphics guys because recently they gave us a ton of stuff that is coming for characters that make all characters look better. So in the grand scheme of things, would we love our hologram shader? Yes, of course. But when we get things that some of these updates that are coming for characters, all of them got better. We had some stuff that just kind of bugs, other things that we've been asking for a long time. We got a lot of stuff from them over the last month or so that is really, we're very excited about for characters, because these aren't things just make this character look good. All of the characters are going to look better because of the stuff that we've got. So
And
I'm just saying, Squadron looks so good right now.
And just to put a button on the subscriber stuff, I've now handed that stuff over to Emily. If you're a concierge member, you've already been contacted by Emily. She is doing some terrific stuff. She's got some exciting stuff planned for the through this year and stuff. So stay tuned. We'll make sure I'll keep pushing for the hologram skull helmet. But she got some other stuff coming for you that is pretty cool coming down the line. So I can get back to my video stuff. Will characters age?
Okay, so this is actually a great question. This is more of a Todd Pappy, Rich Tyrer, Chris Roberts question. Maybe a little bit of Tony Z. But if we were to go with the Death of the Spaceman, technically you would, you wouldn't age necessarily, but you would deteriorate. Your body would deteriorate, and as time progresses, your actual character would die, and then your next of kin would pick up. It's kind of like a little refresh. Right. So as it stands right now, I don't think we have anything in the game to have characters age. However, we do have the that DNA head pool, and we do have some heads that we haven't put into the DNA head pool, and there are a lot of older men and women that we have scanned and that we can plug in. So we could potentially use like a slider to bring in some of those wrinkles and stuff like that. That would require a lot of setup and some on the tech side. That would be more of Sean's department. We haven't gotten a request from up top from design to implement that type of thing. I think there could be some solutions to do that. I have like one or two in my head that I could theorize that we could potentially do that. But as it stands, no. Just you will forever be whatever age.
Well, there's also some lore aspects to take into account. If you've followed Star Citizen's lore since 2012, they release a new story every single Tuesday. There's stories in the Jump Point magazine, a digital magazine available to subscribers. That aging is different 940 years in the future.
Yes.
It has been slowed. It has been not stopped, but people often, humans often reach the age of 100, 110, 120 and stuff like that while maintaining the looks that we would associate today with people in their 60s, 70s, 80s and stuff like that. So that whole process is much slower in our fiction too. So even if one day our game does develop to the point where we do include aging, it won't be at this. It's not likely to be at the same scale that we know it today.
Yeah, I mean, also I think like the medical. Okay, Dave's gonna kill me, but you know what? YOLO. I think I have talked to him about it before. I think we were talking about this before on the Death of the Spaceman type of thing, where we were saying that the medical technology has advanced so far that they would kind of like. Can I bring up a movie title? Is that okay with legal? Is it okay?
If you take your swear budget and use it for that, I'm okay.
Okay, you know what? Sunboat Soldier. Sunboat Soldier.
What are you doing? I don't understand.
Movie with a bunch of bugs. A good bug is a dead bug. Okay, that one. Remember, there's that scene where like they're like
you can say Starship Troopers. Jim Martin, who did that whole movie, has done like 12 spaceships for us.
Yeah. Okay. Starship Troopers. Yeah. Okay, with Rico. Remember Rico's in that tank and they're like putting him back together and stuff. Anyways, so the idea for that med bed, I think, was also like when they're like putting you together, they would use pieces of your DNA to reconstruct the disembodied limbs and stuff like that. But then if you've died so many times, a lot of that DNA would be damaged, I believe, and there wouldn't be enough biomaterial for you to for the bed to regrow, which would then require like cybernetics or for you to eventually just die. Right. So I think that part's kind of cool, and that kind of plays in with like the delaying of age is just because we'd be just reusing the DNA. So I think people would age a lot less just because we have more DNA to play with. I think. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Let's move on, Sunbolt Soldier.
A good bug is a dead bug.
Will it be possible to customize armor in the future, like changing colors, insignia, stuff like that?
That has not been discussed. What we are doing for all the new armors as we make them, though, is right out of the gate we're going to offer material variants for many of them when we can, so that you will have different choices. The other thing that actually was something Jared brought up a while back that we've now made sure of is in the past there was helmets that came out and had a particular color that didn't really match anything exactly. We're trying to fix that now.
14 different shades of yellow.
Yeah, exactly. So our goal going forward is that when we make a new helmet, that we make sure that we'll do a variant of an armor. It might be an existing armor in many cases, but it will match. So you'll be able to go in there. Oh, you like this particular helmet? Great. Well, there is an armor that matches, so you can have a cohesive look. With that, as we make other ones, our plans are that we don't just make another version that's ever so slightly different red than this one. Is actually that you'll be able to, this new helmet, it actually matches this one as well. And so there's more choices. So to start with, there'll be options to pick, not really any discussion yet about like running a color picker and picking whatever you want, just painting it and all that kind of stuff. That's a much, different system. So, but for now there are material options.
Okay. You know what? We're going to ask it. Why not? We already did Sunbolt Soldier. Every citizen in the universe has exactly the same underwear. Are there any plans to change this and make those and put those items up for sale in the clothing shops too? This question is from a T. Whitkin.
Well, representing the concept team, I would love for the concept team to concept a bunch of underwears. But as it is right now, the underwear is part of the base body. It's just we don't want nudity in our game, so we've given the male and female assets pretty much undergarments to cover them up. Can we make underwear, different kinds? Technically, we can.
But would it be a good use of our time?
That would be a chance question.
Probably not.
I just draw things. I would be more than happy to draw lingerie, male and female lingerie.
So yeah, it just comes down to like what's the best use of our time, as Jared mentioned, right? It's like what do we could spend our time on all sorts of things. But we'd like to spend our time on is the best bang for buck for players. You know what I mean? And so for example, like hey, these new armors that have gameplay tied to them. Damn, that seems like an important thing we should be working on, and we're super excited to. So that's really how we're making our choices. It kind of actually goes back to, I'll touch on one other thing about the hairstyles. We're obviously, Squadron is our priority. That's where we first implemented these new hairstyles. When we go and we choose what hair we're doing, we have to pick the ones that actually are on quite a few characters, because that updates that many characters look that much better. Yeah. And so as Jared mentioned, it's a military a lot of these characters in the military, right? So in the military you only have so many choices for hairstyles. You don't go there and just pick anything, right? So we are picking the hairstyles first that get the most characters updated that we can. Once we get those done, then it makes sense to get like really, this very unusual hair that is only on maybe 1 or 2 characters in Squadron. That's kind of right now how we're prioritizing those things. Again, best bang for buck, best use of time. That's what we're trying to do.
So pretty much Chance is saying beards are more important than underwear.
I was waiting to see how you were going to bring that back around to a question about underwear, but really your answer is about prioritize.
Exactly.
And
Priority.
always working
Priority.
on the thing that
Underwear is not a priority right now.
We should do a poll. We should do a poll: beards or underwear in the game. The people, the voices will be heard. Why do you bring me on this show, Jared? I feel like
I'm not sure either, Jared. I don't know why.
I grew a mustache just so I could be disappointed space dad. Now here, I'm not mad, Jeremiah. I'm just disappointed.
Okay, it's okay. I hear that every day.
Yeah, I bet you do. Let's see. I'm trying to. There's another underwear question. I'm going to skip it. What have been some of the challenges you that you've come across while working on the alien races?
I mean, I could speak on the hardest thing. Was it all challenges, or I'll just say the hardest one was, at least for the concept team and also the character team and animation department and tech anim, which was the facial anims. The body animations are pretty straightforward. We just communicate what the anatomy is of the creature or the alien, and pretty much the tech anim guys they're amazing. So they blah blah blah. The problem is speech and expression, and having the aliens speak a specific, because like most games it's just lip flaps. They just go ah bah 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 bah, and just words come out, right? But then the thing is, for us, we want to make sure that we even put lips on our on our aliens so that they can actually purse their lips to phonetically, physically, you can see that they're actually phonetically pronouncing certain words. And so coordinating that with tech anim, character art, and concept is, man, it's a lot of work. Just be able to making sure that the alien can express themselves in a way that we can visually understand and feel emotions for is very difficult. For the Vandul, oh my goodness, we spent months just coming up with different expressions of surprise, sad, angry, puffed up. I'm just like, get that one. Oh my goodness, that's probably the hardest part, especially when these aliens have speaking lines, and trying to have a human actor have that human actor's expression be applied to a completely different anatomy and have that express the same type of emotion. It's crazy. crazy sauce. Crazy. That's probably the hardest part.
And Chance is managing Jeremiah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really the toughest part is just dealing with Jeremiah on a daily basis. I mean, it's pretty much it's really comes down to that. Yeah. Outside of that.
But Chance, when I first met you, I was pretty high energy from what I remember when I first met you. You knew what you're getting yourself into.
No, that's true.
Now, I disagree with the premise of this question. So, given the drive for immersion, why is there such a heavy push for overly colorful, vivid gear, neons, chromatic gold, etc. in the verse, rather than contextual clothing armor such as camo, subtle hues, etc.? Have you gone outside, whoever you are, person? It's like, how does color break immersion?
Yeah, I mean,
at least in LA. In LA, there's a car that drives around that is bright gold and has a giant mural of Jerry Orbach's face on the hood. Google it; it's real. We see it all around Southern California. It doesn't break immersion. That is immersion. That's life.
Yeah,
I want a Jerry Orbach car now. Sorry, go ahead.
For me, what's important when we talk about clothing items and stuff like this is variety. Like I want there to be, Hey, somebody wants to have, the super serious, like, like military gear and this, there should be that choice. Somebody else wants to express himself in a different way and wear something else. You should have that choice. I mean, we want to, like, this should be a big game that lots of people come to and express themselves in different ways. What's important is we offer that variety. For some people, they enjoy the colorful stuff. Some people don't. It's like you should be able to pick those things, and I don't want to say, oh, there's no color in our game, and nope, there's nothing like that, because that's just limiting, and that's not, and that, to Jared's point, that's not reality. When you walk out, and well, when the world was normal and you were
Yeah.
gatherings of people, you would see, yeah, everyone expressed himself in a different way, and I think that's what we strive to do. Sometimes we want to do something that's colorful and maybe more fun. Other times it's much more serious. But we should have those choices. So
Yeah, I think just the designers, and also I'm talking about like the latter end of designs when they start plugging in and implementation of those designers, and also the character team. Like when we set up landing zones, there is a palette that we have, that we generally put on the landing zone NPCs, unless specifically called for. That they have to be very colorful and very diverse. And so I think, um, at least on our end, we'll try to make the NPCs feel more grounded and feel like, more relevant to the actual location. But like as Chan said, for the players, like you can go in with a pink helmet, green torso, and neon pink pants. And that's the beautiful thing about this game is, the ability to have choice, right? And we actually had this conversation with a couple of directors this morning. We're like, yeah, we've seen some abominations online, but that's also just humans. So I think maybe this person, you're seeing this maybe a lot in the other players, where you might see like a
Mhm.
very crazy neon light type of
Yeah.
stuff, but that's more of a choice thing.
Yeah.
And we will always give, the freedom of choice, for players. So,
Yeah.
but NPCs, yeah, we'll make sure that they look, fitting, and not necessarily, unless
Unless there's
specifically
an
called
NPC
for.
that's specifically, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
specifically
yeah.
called for to
Yeah.
be very bright, but yeah,
I'm willing to bet if you did an accounting, I think the overwhelming majority of our assets are still muted and
yeah,
subdued and
yeah.
in line with stuff like that. It's the color is the exception. It's the rarity. It's the flair.
It's so much easier to spot a player too, especially those bright colors.
As my father would say, if you want to look like Joe Shit the Ragman, that's okay, but don't come into my house. So
Did you say shit?
that was my one. Chance used his one. I used my
I just
one.
used mine.
and you used yours. There
And
you go.
you used yours on Sunstone Starship. I don't remember what it was.
Sunboat Soldier.
Sunboat Soldier. With that, we're done. Everybody, congratulations, Chance. You made
Yay,
it
we
to the
did it.
end of your very first Star Citizen Live Roundtable Q&A. How was it? You okay? How you feeling?
Yeah, I survived. It was fine.
You're great. I think you're a good balance to my shenanigans.
Thank you everybody for tuning in and hanging out with us at the end of this week. We'll be back next Thursday with another episode of Inside Star Citizen, and then be back right here again next week for another episode of Star Citizen Live. What will it be about? I honestly don't know yet. I'm still waiting for people to answer my emails. So for Star Citizen Live, it's definitely not going to be.
Sunboat Soldier.
It's going to be an art stream where we asked Jeremiah to create Sunboat Star Soldier or whatever the heck he said it was. For Chance Rowe, that was Jeremiah Lee. I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
A good bug is a dead bug.
No.
Sunboat Soldier.
No.
Sunboat Soldier.